Alright, picture this. Somewhere in the middle of nowhere, a group of scientists uncovers a massive lead-lined box buried deep underground. It's sealed, it's mysterious, and no one knows why it's there. But when they finally crack it open, what's inside blows their minds. Not treasure. Not weapons. But knowledge that someone somewhere wanted to hide forever. This isn't a movie. This is real life. Welcome back to the channel where we dig up the weirdest truths buried in history, science, and beyond. Today we're going down a rabbit hole of secrets, 5 jaw-dropping discoveries that were buried on purpose. Not lost. Not forgotten. Deliberately hidden. And trust me, by the end of this you'll be asking what else is hidden beneath our feet. Let's jump right in, because number 5 is going to twist your brain. In the middle of the Siberian tundra, not far from the Tunguska blast zone, researchers in the 1970s stumbled upon an unusual mound. It was too symmetrical to be natural. When they dug into it, they hit a metallic surface. At first, they thought it was a meteorite. But what they found was way stranger. Under layers of earth and ice, they uncovered a smooth silvery disc etched with symbols no one could decipher. It wasn't radioactive, it wasn't magnetic, and it wasn't from any known alloy. Russian authorities immediately sealed the site. The artifact vanished. To this day, no official record confirms what it was. Some insiders claim it was an ancient power source. Others think it was buried by an unknown civilization to hide its technology from outsiders. But why bury it in the middle of nowhere unless someone wanted it completely forgotten? That's just the warm-up. In a desert in New Mexico, a discovery made in 2013 shocked both historians and gamers. Yep, we're talking about the infamous Atari video game burial. But it wasn't just one game. Workers digging up an old landfill in Alamogordo found thousands of crushed cartridges, consoles, and promotional materials buried in a concrete tomb. The reason Atari had massively overproduced a video game that flopped so hard it nearly bankrupted the company. That game was E.T. the Extraterrestrial. But what made it so wild is that for years people thought it was an urban legend. Gamers told tales of Atari hiding its shame in the desert, and no one believed them until they dug it up. But here's the kicker: they didn't just toss the games. They bulldozed the site, poured concrete over it, and kept quiet for decades. It was a literal burial of corporate failure. A tech time capsule that proves how history, yes, even the pixelated kind, gets erased when it's inconvenient. Now let's raise the stakes. You're not ready for what was found beneath the Vatican. In the 1940s, renovations inside the Vatican led to the unsealing of an underground chamber long hidden beneath layers of brick and marble. What they found was astonishing. A series of scrolls written in ancient Greek, Aramaic, and Latin, some so old they dated back to the 1st century. One scroll allegedly detailed teachings that were left out of the Bible. Another referenced the existence of early sects of Christianity that believed in reincarnation. According to insiders, these texts were quickly removed and locked in the Vatican's secret archives, where only a handful of people in the world are allowed to enter. So why bury it? Because it didn't align with the mainstream narrative. The Church for centuries controlled how the story of humanity's soul was told. Anything that challenged that story, gone. Out of sight. Buried. It's the historical equivalent of deleting your browser history, except we're talking about spiritual truth. And they didn't just hide the message. They buried the entire room it was in. Now brace yourself, because this next one is dark. In a Polish forest, Nazi officers buried something not to preserve it but to erase it. In 1945, as Allied forces advanced, the Nazis tried to cover up the horrors of their experiments. Near the Gross Rosen concentration camp, a pit was discovered decades later filled with hundreds of charred, sealed boxes. Inside were documents, photos, and preserved organs, human organs. These were the results of brutal medical experiments performed on prisoners. Instead of burning the evidence completely, they buried it in a location so remote that only a whisper of rumor led to its discovery in the 1980s. The documents confirmed grotesque procedures, some of which eerily resembled techniques developed in post-war medical science. Why bury it? Because the truth was too monstrous to face. But someone somewhere knew that one day it might be unearthed. So they buried it instead of burning it. A twisted version of a time capsule, hoping it would never see light again. And now for the most unbelievable buried secret of all. This one isn't just real, it's ongoing. Deep in a salt mine in New Mexico lies the Waste Isolation Pilot Plant, or WIPP. Sounds boring, right? Just nuclear waste storage? Nope. The US government scientists and linguists have spent decades designing a message meant to last 10,000 years. Why? Because they buried nuclear waste that will remain deadly for millennia. But here's the twist: they know future civilizations might dig it up. So they built a warning system made of massive black stone spikes, eerie pictograms, and giant engraved messages that say this place is dangerous. But the problem: no one knows what language humanity will speak in 500 years, let alone 10,000. So they buried not only toxic waste but entire systems of meaning, trying to communicate across time. The irony: someone in the distant future might see those spires, those signs, and think it's a sacred temple. Or treasure. Or a portal. We're not just burying secrets. We're burying confusion. So what does all this mean? From ancient texts sealed under churches to video games locked in desert tombs, from government mistakes to dark historical truths, people have been deliberately hiding knowledge for centuries. Not just to protect it, but to silence it. And maybe, just maybe, these buried stories say more about what we fear than what we know. If you've made it this far, you're officially part of the squad that doesn't take things at face value. So hit that like button like you're unearthing a mystery, subscribe for more mind-melting content, and tell us in the comments what else do you think is buried on purpose, because one thing's for sure: some truths aren't lost. They're hidden. And we're here to find them. Catch you in the next one.